climate change is important not only for Iraq, but the whole world. It'll be the prime issue of the 21st century, and the window of action that we have is quite limited. With regard to Iraq, it's doubly important because Iraq is a country that is a developing country. It is also subject to the impact of climate change. We see this already in increased instances of very hot waves of weather, as well as associated events like sandstorms. I can tell you, for example, that I've been back to Iraq since March, and very, very seldom have I seen a star at night. And that used to be something that, people were very proud of. Stars at night, very clear skies. This is why, for example, the Babylonians were the ones who invented astronomy. So it is an important issue for us, but it is also an important issue to deal with properly because we are a country that will be affected by the measures taken to address climate change. And so in the scheme of international negotiations that are taking place to address these issues, there is a special paragraph in the convention dealing with the issue of climate change that looks at the concerns of countries precisely like Iraq that will be affected by climate change, but also by the measures that will be taken to address it. And so in my case, we will have to do a lot of work. Much of it will be inside the country. For example, we will have to do a lot of work in terms of avoiding waste. For example, the oil ministry now has a very ambitious plan to reduce its gas flaring, also its methane emissions. Iraq is, I think, was one of the first OPEC member to join onto the methane pledge that was initiated by the United States and the European Union. So there's a lot to be done, but essentially the work to address climate change is in two parts. One is called mitigation, in other words, reducing the amount of CO2 emissions that we generate. And we're doing that through, like I said, reducing flaring. But the other aspect, which is perhaps even more important for Iraq, is to develop resiliency and adaptability and adaptation. And so for this, we'll have to do work that will encompass the activities of all our ministries, covering agriculture, water resources, transportation, even the way we will build our houses. And the really interesting thing about this is that we are rediscovering that our traditional ways of doing buildings were perhaps much more adapted to the changing environment and to the heat waves that are coming than what we have learned from the West in the 20th century. The prevailing method of agriculture in Iraq is by flooding the fields. And we can't do that because we will be losing a lot of water to evaporation. The good thing is that there are new methods that have been developed to use water very, very sparsely. And there are methods even that will require the treatment of the soil to help it retain the water. There is a British company that I'm going to try to see that has developed a technique of dealing with the soil that have applied it to a olive tree plantation where they reduced water requirements by 94%. So this is the kind of thing that we should be looking for. And this is the kind of thing that, for example, institutions like the IBBC could help promote.